Hi, this is Charlie. Welcome to My Messy Fingers. We are going to be working on a new album, Scrap and Create, sent to me this beautiful collection by Stamperia. It's called the Nutcracker. I'm going to be working with 2 pads, 12 by 12 pads of the core pack, and then 2 pads of the backgrounds. Excuse me. And what you're gonna want is your chipboard pieces. I'm gonna make a 9 by 9 album versus an 8 by 8. You can make an 8 by 8, but you're just gonna have to make the accommodations for the extra 1 inch. And the reason I like a 9 by 9 is it does make a difference in the size of photos and the size of the signatures so that you can put more photos in the album. So you're going to want 2 panels that are going to measure 9 by 9. You're going to want your spine to measure 1 7/8 by 9. This album, when finished, will support 6 signatures. Excuse me. I like to bind my albums with a product called TYVEK. That's TYVEK. It is a shipping envelope and it is very strong, and I have yet to be able to tear one of these. You're going to want to have 2 pieces that are going to measure 8.5 approximately by 2 inches. Then you're going to come in and you're going to score at 7/8 and at 1 1/8. I want a 1/4 inch gusset down the center. That's going to be the guide for how far apart each of the panels are from the spine. So when you come in here and you line all this up, then you're going to have a 1/4 inch gusset in here. I like 1/4 inch gussets because they allow for better flexion and you're not going to have these ends rubbing into each other. And as I go through the album, I also like to make sure that there is a technique I use where I'm pushing some of the cardstock down into the gusset so that when it does close, when you do create your hinge, that you don't have this curved hinge here. You've got a nice square hinge, and you'll see that when we get it built. Now, the TYVEK is going to go on the outside of the album. I had somebody make a comment that they've been putting it on the inside. I've never put it on the inside. To me, it serves no purpose. I put it on the outside because this is so resilient that as these hinges flex, they're flexing against this. And then your cardstock is flexing over the TYVEK, and that prevents tears and bad creases, because otherwise if you put this on the inside, then your cardstock is out here and it's flexing against this rough edge of this chipboard, and that's where you're going to see hinge failure, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get this put together. I'm going to peel off one piece and I'm going to start with the spine, and I'm going to try to line this up so that I'm getting it as straight as I can. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be right on that 1/4 inch edge. And we're going to secure that down. And then I'm going to come in with my first panel. Ate lunch earlier, and I think it's still floating around in my throat. So I apologize for the throat clearing. It was good. Okay. There we go. All right, so now we're going to come in here and we're going to add We're going to add this piece to the spine. And again, we're going to come right up along that score mark. These don't have to be exactly even. You just want to be up off the edge a little bit. All right, let's put the last panel up. Boy, let me pull this over here. I'm lining up to here, but I have developed a little bit of a glare on my glass. There we go. Okay, let's get this burnished down real good. All right, so there is the base for our album. Now we're going to come in and we're going to start to wrap it. I'm going to wrap it in brown, but when we go through the actual construction on the inside, it's going to be in this beautiful bright red. And when I line this on the outside, I'm going to give it just a little bit. I'm going to double layer the cardstock, so I'm going to come against the brown on the outside, and then I'll take the pattern paper and come up against this, and it will create a nice framed in bright look by wrapping in brown first. So your two pieces that you're going to want to have are, first off, are going to measure 11 in your height. This piece is going to measure at 11.5 in the width, and this piece is going to measure in at 11.25 in the width. I'm using a 3/8 of an inch tape, and that is what I'm going to, I don't want to put a bigger seam on here than necessary, and I don't think a 1/4 inch seam to me gives you enough strength, so I'm going to use 3/8 of an inch tape. Now, when I go to wrap this album, I'm going to use 1/2 inch and 3/8 of an inch in my tape. So what we're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to lay your framework here onto your brown cardstock. I want this seam as centered as possible on the spine. I don't want this seam to ever be in or near the gusset, and I don't like to see seams out here unless it's absolutely necessary. So by putting the seam here, it does hide a little bit easier that you've had to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to start wrapping in, putting the tape on the outside of this, so that we can get ready to put it on the cardstock. I'm starting here with 1/2 inch. And I will correct myself. Oh, well, I'm not. I said I was going to do it on the outside. On this perimeter, we're going to use 1/4 inch tape. So I'm going to start down here, 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to come in the middle, and then I'm going to go into the two spaces again in the middle. I don't have to be exact, but I want the tape coverage. I want to make sure that this cardstock stays against the chipboard. I don't like what I call as a floating look, and that's when you go to touch the outside of it and it kind of pops a little bit because the cardstock hasn't been secured down, so I want to make sure that it is. All right, we got our tape down. Now we're going to burnish. All right. Now, the cutting trim that I gave you, we should have approximately 1 inch all the way around this. So this is where when you get this centered, this is where I'm going to put the 1/2 inch tape is going to go out here, and the 3/8 of an inch is going to go in here when we get there. So get this centered as best you can, so you've got roughly 1 inch on all 4 sides. Plant your palm firmly here, and then you're going to come in. You don't want this to move once you finally get it centered. It sucks when you have to move it, recenter it again, especially when you get the tape off. So just hold on to it pretty firm and then lay it down. Now I'm going to talk to you about this laying down routine. These gussets have a tendency, if you're not holding on to these panels tightly, these gussets can actually collapse on you without you realizing it. So when we go to remove this tape back here, you're going to give a gentle pull and then lay it down so that you make sure that your gusset stays open. You don't want this business or this business. So let's go ahead. I'm hoping you've caught up, halted the video, got this far, and we're going to take the tape off. Nice gentle pull, lay it down, there we go. And then we're going to repeat this side. Now, if you have your own style of album that you want to build, by all means, you don't have to use my style. Use whatever works for you. Just be sure to make adjustments in your measurements for whatever album you're going to use. I know a lot of people like that hidden hinge, which is perfectly fine. Okay, now here we go. I'm going to run tape here along the outside. I just do it in one long flowing piece. And then I want to thank Scrap and Create again for sending me this collection. It's such a cute, adorable piece. It really is. All right, now I'm going to take the 3/8 and I'm going to go right along the bottom. Now, there is something else that you might consider doing. I do it sometimes. I'm not consistent with it, but if you want, you can run a bead of glue alongside the chipboard so that when you fold the paper over, it's secured against the chipboard even more. It's not, I think, totally necessary, but it is an option. Next, we're going to burnish everything. We want the air out, the tape secured against the chipboard. all the crinkles, everything out. Now I'm going to miter my corners. I probably should mention to you that I typically use 65-pound weight cardstock to wrap if I can find it in the color pattern that I'm using. Otherwise, it ends up being 100 weight that I use to wrap, which is the case here because the paper I'm using is from a company called Cardstock Warehouse. And this is their Baghdad Brown. And it only comes in 100-pound weight, which is kind of a bummer. Okay, so let's take some of this tape off because when we go to fold this over, we want... I'm only going to take this down just a little bit because when we fold it over, it's going to... All right, now... With it being 100-pound weight cardstock, it takes just a little bit of encouragement to get it to fold over. Off. All right, now I'm going to pinch and turn in these two first corners. Peel that back just a little bit. Nice and firm contact. Slowly bending over as I do that, and then we commit. Ta-da! All right, let's go down here to this end. And we'll take this off. I just want to move this piece back a little bit. Smudge and turn, that's what I call it. There's a name, I think there's a technique name for this, but I lost it a long time ago, so I just call it my smudge and turn. All right. All right. Oh, that did not lay over kindly. Okay, I've got a little bit of a ruffle there, but it'll get covered up, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so now this is what I was talking about. You've got your gusset, and then you've got this cardstock that's laying over the gusset. I'm going to bend this just a little bit, and then I'm going to press very gently. I use this tool. It's got a nice rounded edge. What you don't want to do is tear this. If you do, put some glue on it. You can use something that's got a big ball, and you just go over. But by pushing this down there, you've got the tape that's on these strips also making contact with that TYVEK, but it takes the bulk of this off, and then when you bend, I don't know if you can see that very well, but when you bend, you've got this folding into the gusset. So then when you bring this together, you have nice corners. Look at that. Okay, so now as I said, I'm going to, when I cover the outside, I'm going to do this in a beautiful bright red up against the brown. So that means on the inside, everything I'm going to do in here is going to be the red, and this will be what we're going to use when we make all the signatures. So I initially cut this 9 by 6, it's 6 across by 9, but I don't want it 9 because I don't want to see this at the very top. So I'm going to just take a little bit of a hair. I've moved it up down here. Take just a little hair, and then I'll tell you how it might ended up measuring out. Just a little bit here. And I've got to give a product shout out. If you have followed me before, you know I have struggled with some of my trimmers, and I've got some measurement issues. Not that I won't have them again going forward, but part of my problem was I was using a trimmer that had a gray background, and then it had a dark black for these numbers, and I've got some eyesight issues, and I'll be honest, I couldn't see it, and what I thought I was measuring wasn't. So I found this at my local craft store, and so I want to give a shout out to Cindy's Simple Stuff. She's not an online store, she's just a local store, but she had this there. I fell in love with it, and this thing has been a blessing. I can see all the numbers. So anyway, there's my shout out for Dress My Craft. All right, so this is going to fit in here just like so. You want to center this because you've got your spine piece in here. You're going to want to center this, and we're going to take some tape first off, and we're going to tape and frame the outside of this. It just feels so strange. This is the first time I have used a different color to wrap, and then the working color as my inside. So it's kind of strange for me to see the brown, and I'm using this beautiful bright red. Let me share with you, like I said, in the description down below will be all the links for everything I'm using to make this. But again, I got this at Cardstock Warehouse. It's in their Lesbo color collection, and it's called Dawn. And this happens to be 83-pound cover. And I always buy it in 25 sheets because I use almost 25 sheets or pretty close to it when I'm building an album. All right. Now I'm going to run some tape down the center of the spine, so we have some good contact. All right, let's get this burnished. Get the air pockets out of this. All right, so I am going to take these up first. And then I'm going to kind of pay attention to the gussets that I've got here. I want to try and get as even as I can on both sides, but I don't want to extend below the bottom of the album. I want to come up just a bit. Come on. Okay, there we go. All right, let's take the top and the bottom off. And before I take the tape off here, I'm going to try and find the gusset. I'm just going to make some gentle folds. So I can once again get that down inside that gusset. And now I'll take this off. Okay, I'm going to do this again. And we still have some nice peaks here in our corners. Okay, now our pages. I do 5/8 of an inch on my gussets. So you're going to want 2 sheets that are going to measure the height of your center page, which happened to, for me, mine cut to 8 7/8. So you're going to want to have 2 that are cut 8 7/8, and then we're going to do a 5/8 of an inch gusset on both pieces. I want 1/2 inch tape. Where's my 1/2 inch tape? It's floating around in the tray. Okay, let's get the tape on both of these. Now my tape, my glue that I use, everything except for the cardstock you can get at Scrap and Create. Cardstock, you'll need to either go to Amazon or Cardstock Warehouse or wherever your favorite place is to go to get your cardstock. Okay, this is, I have a weird way of measuring things, but I'm going to fold my spine up, and then I'm going to pretend that this page is already mounted, and then I'm going to drop that and let it go. And I don't want to be more than 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch from this edge right here. That's because I do build-ups, and as we build up, you're going to come out here to this edge almost every time. So back off a little bit, because otherwise, if you don't, you're going to have your signatures extending past the album frame. So this actually measures in at 9.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to go over and cut. So I'll be right back. Get these cut here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it right up along this edge that we have here for the cardstock. I mean the chipboard edge. I just want that edge to be pronounced just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to come off of this edge. Oh, my paper is cut too high. I've got to take about 1/8 of an inch off. Well, I don't know how I did that. And to cut this, I need to put my tape paper back on. Okay, so what did I do here? See, I'm off right there. So there we go. Easy peasy. Now we're going to go back and put this in. So once again, I'm going to come just a smidgen behind that chipboard edge. And if I've got this on straight, it should lay down straight. So now we're going to come in here with this one. And we're going to come right up underneath this fold, put it down, and they should line up. Okay. So then what you end up with here is a 5/8 of an inch gusset. Here's a 5/8 of an inch gusset. And then here's a little bit more than 5/8 of an inch. It ends up being just a hair. Here on your final page. So that is it. That's your album build. It's ready to go. And now the next video, we're going to actually build the front of the album. So I will see you then. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a holler. Bye-bye.